Let's start with a little college hoops, man, because you got some massive news today. North Carolina star Caleb Wilson, who very well could be a lottery pick in the NBA draft. Um, he is out indefinitely with a fractured hand. Injured the hand in the loss against Miami. X-rays taken during the game were negative. He returned for the second half. Then they take further X-rays when they get back to Chapel Hill. That reveals the fracture. He is out indefinitely, and by indefinitely, again, we got to find out a timetable here of how long this is going to take. I mean, he's essentially got a broken hand. He's got a fracture in the hand. How big the fracture is, and waiting for some more details on that. He's out indefinitely. There's less than a month to go in the regular season. We're just over 30 days away from Selection Sunday. We've been talking about North Carolina all this week because they beat Duke on Saturday. Then the letdown game, they lose to Miami, but they're still kind of rounding into form. They may be a 3 seed, maybe a 4 seed, a dark horse potentially to make a big run. We've seen Hubert Davis's squads do that before, but now they're going to miss their best player, one of the best players in the country here for God knows how long. And so the first thing I want to ask you, Brad, before we get into how this affects North Carolina is, did North Carolina mishandle this situation? Because I mean, look, X-rays can be tricky. I don't know about you. I've never had an X-ray that said that there wasn't a broken bone and then later that there was. I haven't had many X-rays in my life. But, I don't know how you get an X-ray and it comes out negative, and then you get back to the school and all of a sudden, oh, no, yeah, there is a break right there. Did North Carolina mishandle this situation with their star player?
Maybe they need an equipment upgrade is what it sounds like. I don't think they really mishandled it because of what the original X-ray revealed, which was a whole bunch of nothing, and according to their point of view. And of course, the team trainer is going to be doing various tests, feeling the hand, and you got a lot of small bones in the back of your hand in general. So, they may test things and squeeze here, see what the pain tolerance is, what the level of pain just generally is in those various instances. And, maybe nothing was ultimately revealed. They take him in, they get the X-ray, and the X-ray was either inconclusive or didn't reveal what eventually was a fracture. So I don't think they mishandled this at all. Comes back into the game, feels some discomfort, exit stage left as a result. But the ripple effects of this are pretty strong and rather significant for a Carolina team that just a few days ago was riding the highest of highs, beating their arch nemesis, their arch rival, the Duke Blue Devils. They are inside the Dean Dome with a Seth Trimble buzzer at the three at the buzzer, I should say, and getting that key marquee overall victory, going 5-5 against quarter one competition, and looking like pretty high end, at least decently high end single-digit seed. But now everything has to be reassessed. The schedule upcoming isn't at all the easiest road to hoe. And the question that I have immediately is, will Caleb Wilson be back in uniform and functioning at top speed in the rematch against the Dukies, baby, which is always at the end of the year? And of course, first game in Chapel Hill. The rematch will go down inside Cameron Indoor Stadium in Durham, North Carolina. So a lot of questions up in the air, but a massive blow, to say the least, with one of the more dynamic freshmen, and a guy who was averaging nearly a double-double a game this season, accounted for over 26% of North Carolina shots.
Yeah, a phone number to join the show, by the way, is 310-840-4910. That's 310-840-4910 for any of our college hoops fans out there, North Carolina fans, NBA fans that were looking forward to Caleb Wilson being a part of one of the most decorated one-and-done classes, freshman classes, to go to the NBA in the history of the sport. You mentioned it, averaging nearly a double-double. How about 19.8 points per game and 9.5 rebounds per game? Also, here's some history for you, just how great this kid has been. 17 games this year where he has scored 20 or more points. That is the most by a freshman in North Carolina program history. Played every single second in that win over Duke on Saturday. Basically not neutralized, but canceled out Cam Boozer, who's running away with the Wooden Award, also going to be a top 5 pick. And like you said, North Carolina, I don't know how this doesn't cripple them. I don't, you're talking about, will he be available for when they play Duke? Will he be available ever again the rest of this season? Will he ever
Right.
step foot onto a college basketball court for the rest of his career? Because again, he's most likely going into the NBA draft this offseason. Will he ever play for North Carolina again? Out indefinitely. Haven't gotten a timeline from the school. Don't know when we will get a timeline from the school. At this point, it's kind of guesswork. If the initial X-rays didn't even reveal the fracture and now they did, I guess that's maybe a reason to be optimistic. But you got to let this thing heal, man. You got to look out for the player's future. There's a huge difference between this and what we've talked about with Darren Peterson this week, Kansas's star, who's basically load managed his way through the entire season. That player, it's kind of like, yeah, let's maybe push the gas a little bit more here. Why don't we? Well, with Caleb Wilson, the kid's got a broken hand. He's got a fracture in his left hand. You have to let that heal here. And Brad, I'm just going to say what maybe is the obvious. Maybe it's not the obvious. Without Caleb Wilson, North Carolina is cooked. They don't have a shot to win a single damn thing. The ACC tournament, I don't know if they even win a game in the NCAA tournament. And you know what? Once we get to March, if it is revealed on Selection Sunday or before Selection Sunday that Caleb Wilson is out for the rest of the year, and I guess that's tough to do because maybe North Carolina tries to, they don't want to hurt their seeding and they'll say, hey, has a chance to play in the tournament, even if they know he doesn't. But either way, if we get to Selection Sunday and Caleb Wilson hasn't played a game and has not returned yet, that's got to affect North Carolina's seeding. We've seen this in different circumstances. The college football playoff, of course, a couple of years ago with Florida State and Jordan Travis. If North Carolina's heart and soul of this team has not played, once we get to Selection Sunday, their seed has to take a hit. Maybe their record will suggest that by itself, but I don't believe that North Carolina can win a damn thing without Caleb Wilson.
Yeah, right now projected as number 5 seed. I think it would cost them an entire seed line, no matter where they wind up, come regular season's end, if Caleb Wilson is indeed ruled out for the NCAA tournament. Now, Kyla Boswell from my ILL also suffered a fracture in his non-shooting hand, and he has missed basically a month. He's very close to returning. So let's say it is roughly a month timeline. Today is February the 12th. That would be in line then for March the 12th. That would be during the ACC conference tournament, and they would probably play it safe and keep him sidelined because Selection Sunday is March 15th. So they would make sure that he be ready and raring to go in time for round 1. I think that's entirely on the table right now. And, and it's a bit of guesswork, as you and I have both said. I don't have a medical degree by any stretch of the imagination, but we will get the determination on exactly how much time he will miss. But best case scenario, I think right now, is a month gone. Now, you also look at how valuable Caleb Wilson is, folks. As we mentioned, nearly 20 points per game, nearly 10 rebounds per game, accounting for over 26% of the Tar Heels shots. He has been peak efficient this year. How efficient? Well, according to Ken Pomeroy and his K-Poi ratings, his Ken Pom Player of the Year standings right now, here are your top 10. Cam Boozer of Duke at number 1. Joshua Jefferson, Iowa State at number 2. Kingston Flemings of Houston at number 3. Jeremy Fears of Michigan State at 4. Yaxel Lindenborg of Michigan at number 5. JT Toppin at 6 at Texas Tech. Keaton Wagler of my ILL at 7. And then Caleb Wilson at 8. He is indispensable to this team, and a team that doesn't have, honestly, I feel, a tremendous amount of depth. So, where does the onus really fall on to for this team? Obviously, the bigs there in the post. Vizar in particular is really got to step up his game, the 7-footer. The guards have got to elevate their game, and in particular, Jaron Stevenson, a guy who's 6'10", like Caleb Wilson is, cannot shoot the 3 nearly as efficiently as Wilson. Wilson, a guy that can step out, knock down some of those shots. Stevenson can do that at times, but not as effective of a rebounder, a defender, and an overall scorer. So Stevenson, man, you got to ramp up your game. It's going to have to be at least, I think, a B-plus level performance down the home stretch as the remaining matchups. Home against Pittsburgh, at NC State, that's going to be a tough road to hoe. At Syracuse, winnable game there. Home against Louisville, Virginia Tech, both projected to be in the field right now. And then Clemson at home, also projected to be in the field right now. Then you finish, of course, with that road matchup at Duke. It could be a disastrous end of the season for Carolina if Caleb Wilson does not heal quickly enough.
So you mentioned the upcoming schedule there. Louisville, number 24 in the country, Clemson, number 20, Duke, number 4. They lose all 3 of those games. That gives them, and they win every other game. That puts them at 8 losses in the regular season. That would get them to, let's see, 23-8 in the regular season. Then we'll see what happens in the ACC tournament. But I mean, there's always the chance they win one of those games against Louisville or Clemson. Maybe they win both, but they lose, some other games like to North Carolina State. I don't know. I don't see how they lose to Syracuse. That program is an absolute shambles right now. Rock bottom of the Syracuse Orange. They are a disgrace to college basketball, what that program has become. But you never know. Maybe they find a way to lose to them. Either way, this is a critical next couple of weeks here, and North Carolina has to be graded fairly, and that is without Caleb Wilson. If he does not come back before the end of the regular season, how they do should affect what their seed is, and if he is able to come back, then all of a sudden we have a different conversation here about, man, this team – they didn't look good down the stretch, or maybe the flip side. Maybe, hey, they win without him. Maybe North Carolina loses only one game here the rest of the regular season, and maybe it is to Duke. And, all of a sudden Caleb Wilson comes back for the NCAA tournament. It's confirmed that he's going to play. And then all of a sudden we look at this team in an entirely different light. Like, wow, they were able to win almost all their games without him. They proved that they have a deep enough squad where they're not just Caleb Wilson and a bunch of, collective decent players. And so that's going to play into the equation as well here, Brad. But Hubert Davis, he's going to be tested now. His coaching acumen, which we've seen both the best, and I don't know if I would say the worst. That maybe sounds a little bit harsh here of Hubert Davis, but let's not forget what happened here a couple of years ago at North Carolina after they make the national title game in his first season. The next year was a disaster. They don't make the tournament. They decline the NIT. So we've seen him succeed with star power. We've seen him succeed without star power. We've also seen him fail with both. So Hubert Davis, a lot of pressure on his shoulders now for the final 3 weeks here of the regular season, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's got to push the right buttons. Got to have to reconfigure lineup and make sure everybody's firing on all cylinders to avoid that complete and unmitigated disaster. And that is certainly on the table right now based on the schedule that you and I just laid out. In a hypothetical world, let's say if they lose 3 games and they have 8 losses in the column, maybe they lose a game in the ACC tournament as well. They don't cut down the nets and get the automatic berth there. So let's say they're a 9-loss team. Based on the advanced metrics right now, they're top 50 in terms of strength of schedule. That's appreciable. 3-4 in true road games, not too shabby there. 5-5 against quarter 1 competition. They don't have a single Q2, Q3, or Q4 loss. So as long as they dodge some of those bad L's and get the necessary wins, you're probably looking at a 6 seed, maybe a 7 seed, but it all will be contingent on the availability of Caleb Wilson. If he gets a clean bill of health and they say, hey, it's going to be all systems go for the NCAA tournament, I think the committee is going to take that into consideration, and maybe they do wind up on the 5 line, but a lot to be determined, a lot of ball left. But Carolina right now certainly feeling blue, to say the least.
Yeah, and you see right now, if you're watching the show on YouTube or Twitter, a great snapshot there of Caleb Wilson's resume this season and what he's done for North Carolina. Shout out to our video producer, Monty, for putting that up there. Yeah, a huge final 3 weeks of the regular season for the Tar Heels, to say the least. And they're going to probably play most of it without their star player, who is a projected top 5 pick in the NBA draft, Caleb Wilson, with the fracture in his left hand.